Hey friends, thanks so much for joining us. I've got political artist David Dees back on the line to help us dissect some of the most concerning issues of the day. And I'll read his bio in a second, but let's welcome David right now. David, are you there?
Good morning, Sean. Thank you for inviting me.
Hey, thanks for coming back. I want to tell people about your book, and we'll tell you how to get a signed copy at the end of this interview. David began his work in advertising in the 80s, and he's worked in Hollywood as an illustrator. And in 2003, David became fully awake to the New World Order agenda and decided to fight back with his activist political artwork and social commentary, and with some 600 pieces alerting people to GMOs, geoengineering, false flag terror, mandatory vaccination tyranny, and the rest of the ways the bad guys are waging war against humanity. David is taking the fight to the New World Order powers by waking people up and getting them to ask the serious questions. David, again, welcome, and where would you like to start? I don't even know where to start with so much going on.
There's a lot. My attention has been a lot on Trump. I've watched, he's the first politician that I've been able to stomach. More than that, I'm entertained severely, as many people are. I watched maybe 4 or 5 of his speeches after he won certain primaries and certain states, and he seems genuine. Of course, it could be a Trojan horse. It could be just rolled out, and I know for one thing is he wants to change things, and we know that the global Jewish Zionist elite that are controlling our money supply and the media have already started to turn the tide against him. They really don't like that he wants to change anything. I'm nervous for him. He might have an accident if he gets in there. Maybe they'll put a vice president that'll change anything back after he's changed it. How do you feel about that?
Well, I'm glad you brought it up, because so many of the commenters at SGTreport have already made up their mind, and they think it's just a fool's errand to believe that Trump is anything other than the establishment. So I've made the point that, okay, there are good alternative news media personalities out there that have endorsed Trump. Among them are Max Kaiser and Bill Still, and Bill Still's wife Beth, and many others. But the point I've been trying to make is that, look, either Trump is the real deal and a true threat to the establishment, and we can judge that maybe that's the case by the way they are circling the wagons around him and demonizing him 24/7, or the point you made, he could be a Trojan horse, and the most clever Trojan horse since Barack Obama. I'm not sure, but what I believe is that we already know what we're going to get with the Bush-Clinton crime families, and that's more of the same New World Order tyranny, secret trade agreements, endless war, and with Trump, perhaps we'll get something better. Now, people in the comments section have said we're crazy to believe that, but I think in the interest of debate, we should talk about it. And David, I want to cite an article here for everybody that appeared on Zero Hedge on Tuesday. GOP leaders, tech execs plot against Trump at secret neocon island meeting. Now, it's very important that people understand that just recently Mitt Romney gave an anti-Trump speech in front of the Hinckley Institute. And of course, our friend Dave Hodges over at the Common Sense Show reminds everybody of the history of the John Hinckley Jr. assassination attempt of Ronald Reagan. This rabbit hole goes very, very deep, David, and I think it's fair to talk about Trump. It's fair to say he may be a Trojan horse, but it's important to have the conversation.
Sean, as I was trying to talk about all this, I realized that this is not really my talent. I illustrate these things, and I've done about 4 or 5 Trump illustrations. So if your listeners would kindly run over to my site and go into the main gallery there, and maybe if you would look at that, I'd sound a little more intelligent if you were looking at the illustrations at the same time. The site is ddees.com. That's ddees.com. What I do is I did illustrate the one, he talks about, we're going to build a wall, Mexico's going to pay for it. Well, I did my illustration of what that wall would look like, and he's standing in front of it, very proud of himself. Take a look at that. Of course, he put the big gold T's on it, so everybody knows that it's a Trump wall. The one that I'm working on right now that I didn't get in time, I wanted to before I talked to you, but I have Hillary Clinton hugging and kissing a electronic voting machine because, of course, it's going to be a very close race, and she's going to win, eke it out, because what do you call the third candidate, the independent candidate? What do they call that comes in and they upset the balance and they pulls votes one way so that they can, you know what I mean?
Yeah, the Ross
What do you,
Perot candidate. Is that what you're afraid is going to happen here? I guess
well,
that could happen if Trump goes independent. If the GOP tries to silence him and bury him, maybe he would go independent. I'm not sure.
how would that happen? What are you saying that they would? Why is he not going to get the Republican nomination?
Oh, well, I think the forces are aligned against him in the GOP, and some of the head Republicans within the GOP have threatened, and this is actually just more in the camp of those who would believe that he is anti-establishment. They've threatened to vote for Hillary Clinton. I mean, can you imagine how criminally corrupt the GOP is if they would actually say, if he's going to be the nominee, we're going to vote for Hillary Clinton? I mean, that alone proves that they're criminals. If they would want a known criminal like Hillary Clinton in the White House and actively vote against the base. And again, on Fox News and CNN, and we continue to hear everyone use the term the establishment. The establishment hates Trump. Well, who is the establishment? The oligarchs? The criminal oligarchy that runs and controls the Republican Party? That's my question.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. I mean, you were on a roll there.
Well, I mean, I think Trump is an oligarch to the extent that he's a billionaire, and you don't become a billionaire in real estate in New York without having some very powerful friends and sometimes bad folks as your friends. But why are they circling the wagons around him? Why are there veiled threats against his life being made? Why is Mitt Romney coming out of the woodwork and standing in front of the Hinckley Institute banner talking about how Donald Trump is a bad guy? Why do they all hate him? Well, Newt Gingrich says it's because he hasn't sworn the secret oath to the secret societies.
Yeah, yeah, he's not up on attacking Syria. He's not up on all these, the Greater Israel Project, which is, it's 7 countries in 5 years that Clark revealed. That really was the plan, and that's what's happening. We see him, but thank God for Putin and saving the Christians. Putin has really put a stop to the whole Greater Israel Project, don't you think? That his bombing of Syria, of ISIS in Syria, has completely stopped this madhouse, this wasteland they've created Israel. It really is just to soften up all the countries around Israel so they can expand their borders. That's what you're looking at. And Trump would never go along with that. He just is not going to go along with it. So you know what? My money is not on Trump. He's a lot of fun, and he wants to see make America great again, and who doesn't? But wow, the people that are in power that have, the head of the snake is the financial institutions, and we see who that is, and they're not having it. So
yeah, well, my feeling about Trump is that he's no Ron Paul. Okay, I want to be the first person to say that. I don't even know that I support Trump. I just know that the people that aren't Trump are going to continue to keep this country on the same pro-Zionist path. So you make a very good point about Zionism. And who do these people serve? Well, Ted Cruz, we have a soundbite from him giving a speech in front of people in which he's singing the praises of Israel and how we need to stand by Israel, and the crowd actively boos, and he turns on the crowd because his first alliance is to Israel, not the people of this country.
I will say this, I am saddened to see that some here, not everyone, but some here, are so consumed with hate that you cannot address your brother. I will say this: if you will not stand with Israel and the Jews, then I will not stand with you. Thank you, and God bless you.
I know.
So,
you have to swear your allegiance to Israel, because this is going to be the center of government, of world government. The long-range plan is Jerusalem is now going to be the capital of the world, and the European Union is being meshed together with all the influx, the weaponized flood of immigrants to destroy all those countries. As Barbara Specter says, it will never be the once great independent countries it once was. It's all going to be meshed together, and that's what you're looking at. And really, Russia has turned out to be the shining savior in all this, amazingly, because, I think the Zionists really thought that Russia was just going to lay down and be the way Russia used to be, being controlled by the Zionists there, but that's not happening. And I think that's, it's a miracle. So I'm pleased about that, and I'm certainly my new illustration. I show the Greater Israel. I show and Netanyahu and Obama shaking hands as they're overlooking the destruction, completely bombed out Syria. Did you see this? They sent a drone up over a Syrian city Did you see this? I think I sent that to you. And it's just bombed out. It's just a apocalyptic nightmare where not a car is just driving through the ruins of this. It looks like more like a movie set.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Well, the Pentagon would call that spreading democracy, and so would so would the political Zionist sellouts like Lindsey Graham and John McCain. And the before and after pictures of Syria are heartbreaking. They're deplorable and they're heartbreaking, and it reminds me of what they did to Libya. It reminds me of what they did to Iraq.
Exactly what they did. It's a blueprint of that and Palestine. I mean, this is what Zionists do.
Yeah. Well, Ken O'Keefe would call it what it is, which is crimes against humanity, absolute war crimes. And I guess that gets me back to the Trump idea that, maybe he's not into committing more war crimes for another decade. There's a chance that he might actually put an end to some of this stuff and not play ball with the Zionists. Now, I know some listeners would say, oh, he is a Zionist. But again, that gets back to the idea of then him being a Trojan horse. I mean, either he's for real or he's a Trojan horse. But what we get with Hillary Clinton is more of the same. We already know who she's pledged to. She's pledged to the House of Rothschild. She's pledged to this Zionist agenda. And David, I think what we're going to get is a Hillary Clinton, possibly Trump election, and then they'll just steal it for Hillary with the Diebold voting machines.
That's it. And the third party, the independent party, will somehow skew it, as you said. I don't know what the word is for the third candidate that pulls enough votes one way. What do you call that? I forgot. But I did do an illustration of a ticket from The Shining. Remember when Jack Nicholson chops through the door and he sticks his head and I have Hillary in the closet there with her emails and all of her skeletons in the closet, and Trump's coming in after her. You have to take a look at that.
Yeah, we posted that during our last conversation. Of course, that artwork appeared at SGTreport, and it just seems that Hillary versus Trump. I think if it was Hillary versus Ron Paul, people would be very excited, and then we could see this spiritual warfare unfolding. Ron Paul representing the light of truth and the Constitution, and Hillary Clinton, of course, representing the Zionist Rothschild wars without end and the fiat printing funny money machine. And it all comes down to spiritual warfare in my mind, David. I mean, we are up against it, and if Hillary Clinton gets in the White House, and it shocks me how much support she has from the brainwashed sheeple, but if she gets back in the White House instead of going to prison, it's all over for this republic. I mean, it may already be all over, but that'll be the death knell.
Yeah, it's a game. It's kind of a flippant thing to say to some people, but I'm kind of spiritual in that way. I'm not religious so much, but I had this thought. For a short time when I was in school, I tried to play football, and you put on these pads. Have you ever put on shoulder pads, Sean? I mean, I'm telling you, you put on the shoulder pads, you put on the helmet, and you can hear your own breathing in the helmet, and you go out there and you bump into people and you fall down and you're wearing this whole suit, and particularly in a game, when you're in the middle of that game, it seems your whole attention, everything is there. It's the most real thing to you is to be in the middle of that game, like a war. Well, that's kind of the way I look at life on Earth. We see a whole city destroyed. We see bombs. We see children crying, bloody. It's a madhouse. But the truth is, we're really not native as spiritual beings to all this. We're in this, but at the end of the day, end of the game, you take off your suit and you go home. I mean, that's kind of the way I look at it. I mean, I don't know if that's comforting to you, or it is to me in a sense, is that as painful as all this appears to be, and it certainly is very real, is at the end of the day, we're in the physical world with our flesh suits, but we're really not of this world. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, that's right. No, I agree with you, and it's hard for people to look at it that way a lot of times because we're like fish in a fishbowl. But I think the more you go down the rabbit hole, David, and you understand who the real enemies of humanity are, and that some of these people at the very top of the pyramid are Luciferians.
They believe it. Yeah,
they're actual Satan worshipers. It speaks to this satanic agenda in the spiritual warfare. And at the end of the day, that's why they love to malign the word of Jesus Christ. That's why they love to malign the word of God and biblical truth. There's nothing sacred to these people.
Yeah, and I don't think this is really realistic to Christians, because I'm from the South. I was born in Mississippi, and we used to, when you drive around on Sunday, the churches would open up and everybody would stand outside. You see 100, 200 people outside these big churches, stand socially. What Christians do not realize is that there are just that many people that are into Satan. They have taken it into the demonic world, and there just is that many people meeting in secret places. They don't walk out on Sunday and shake hands, but they're shaking hands behind closed doors, and they get in positions of power, and God knows what kind of parties they're having, because we see that these wars are sacrifices to their own twisted view of spirituality, and that's what you see, blood sacrifices happening. That's what we're looking at. Pretty frightening stuff. Sorry, I didn't mean to get into that, but it's I have thoughts about all that.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, actually. And, David Icke has talked about that, and many others have talked about the fact that these people are Luciferians at the very top of the pyramid, and these are blood sacrifices. They're sacrificing young men and women in the name of these unconstitutional wars without end, and they're sacrificing people through these false flag acts of terror like 9/11, which I think woke you up, right?
Yeah. Well, when I saw the photographs of the Pentagon and all these things, and they were directly opposite to what I was being told, it occurred to me that I could research myself and didn't have to depend on being told through the media. And when I started illustrating all these things, I've gone full bore anti-Zionist, and I expose stuff that I've got in trouble for. I've had visits, I've had harassment, people following me, come in my house. When I lived in Sweden, I lived in Europe for 10 years, and it was scary as hell. And recently, I don't know if I think I did tell you, my email got attacked, and I got a lot of money stolen. What they did is they posed as me. They went into my email, posed as me and the clients I was designing these book covers, and they said, "Oh, send the money to this other address." And they rerouted for a month all my work, probably 2 months of stuff, and I lost a lot of money. So I wanted to tell you that I was going to try to make up some money that there was a fellow that was buying a Rife machine through me, and you know what a Rife machine is, right?
Right, I do.
Yeah, for health. And his sister has cancer or something. And so anyway, I have a special I want to run on my books, just so I can get the money to help him get that machine that was part of the money that got stolen. So, yeah, I have a special of 5 books if you want to talk about it now.
Yeah, well, Art Meets Conspiracy, The Political Art of David Dees, Volume 1. We talked about this on our last interview, David, and I'm happy to report that SGTreport readers and listeners of this show are just so darn supportive. I think many of them reached out to you, and I think you sold a lot of books, and this will be another opportunity, guys. If you didn't get one last time, you can get it now, and I think these would be signed copies, wouldn't they, David?
I have a special of 5 books for $100, which is outrageous. That's delivered. I'm going to deliver 5 books signed for $100, and that is just to get the cash flow to get this guy his Rife machine. That's why I'm doing it. Yeah, if you go to my site, and you'll see on the left side of the menu it says the book, and you can follow that down. And when you go to order on PayPal, you can see that information.
Yeah, it's 114 full-page color illustrations. I've got a copy, you guys, and it is a very, very nice book. And it's something to put out on the coffee table during the holidays and trip out your friends and family, especially those who are still sheeple, because if you start paging through this thing, you can't help but ask questions. And it is a conversation starter, and it's a tool for waking people up. Well, David, I'm sorry that happened to you with your email. And, one thing I did want to ask you before we let you go, you just did a piece recently, and I didn't post it at SGTreport because I'm not a flat earther. It's not my thing. I think it's AstroTurf, and I believe since the flat earth thing shows up in the Illuminati playing cards, I personally believe it's propaganda. I don't believe the earth is a dish plate, but this is a very controversial issue. I do believe maybe the earth is bigger than they're telling us. I don't know that it's just 25,000 miles around. We've seen some interesting videos covering the fact that the earth is probably bigger than we've been told. Certainly NASA does a very good job lying to us, and I'm not sure much of what NASA tells us is real or honest, David, but what's your take? Why did you do that flat earth illustration? And I'll put it up in this video so people can see.
Oh, good. I been Flat Earth showed in my YouTube channel about 3 months ago, and I just, as a joke, I started watching a few of these. And I'll tell you this: this is what we know for sure. I know you said that it's a psyop, or that it's to distract us, to discredit, but the truth is that about a year ago, you would only find. I mean, I just heard this through somebody else being interviewed. He said, there was only just a handful of flat Earth videos, and now there's a little explosion. And the more people that get woke up to it, you're getting more and more videos from scientists and from engineers, people that are really realizing that all of our information was really coming from NASA. And so, look, I mean, I could go into all this, but I would just say, type in flat Earth on YouTube and start watching videos. So I did an illustration where it's children studying a flat Earth map, and in the background, on the wall of the prison cell they're in, is the United Nations logo, which, by the way, is the flat Earth. So what do they know? I mean, we go by what we do know for sure. We do know that the Antarctica has signed a 50-country treaty. They didn't. I mean, we signed that where no one can go there, no one can build there, no one can claim it as their own, and it's protected by military as just as they protect Area 51. You cannot get near that. You can't fly over it. So there's a lot going on here.
Well, I listened to one flat earther get absolutely destroyed by Stefan Molyneux, and I mean, his positions were absolutely undefendable, even to the extent that he said the sun is 3,000 to 5,000 miles away from the Earth and much, much smaller than we've been told. And I mean, this whole idea that the Earth is a dish plate, I think speaks to the fact that the powers that be, the New World Order powers that be, don't want humanity to even understand the basics of their world. And a great example of that, as you know, is Common Core. Roll out Common Core in the public schools, indoctrinate the children with useless information, and in some cases wrong information. 2 + 2 = 5. And I think this whole flat Earth concept just speaks to the fact that they want to dumb down humanity to the point where we're literally back in the situation of being 13th, 14th century serfs. The same is true with Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030 policies. They want to take all our energy resources away from us so that we can't even heat our homes. Can you imagine what humanity will look like, David, in another 10, 20, 30 years if Agenda 2030 policies are able to be successfully rolled out? I mean, we'll be living as serfs.
I still can't figure out the cashless society. If you take away the cash and everything becomes digital, I realize that you could kick people out of the system so they can't buy things. But what does that do except create a whole class of people that are going to they're going to get together and say, we got to destroy these people, right? I mean, I guess I don't know.
At this point, it seems like it's a slash and burn strategy. Right? They don't care about anything. They don't care about the environment. Look at Fukushima. Nothing's been done about it. Look at fracking and the earthquakes being caused by fracking and the pollution of the water. Look what's going on in Flint, Michigan. It's just insanity. It's a slash and burn strategy of this corporate oligarchy. And again, it kind of gets back to this idea of spiritual warfare, because only people that would worship Lucifer would want to see this done to planet Earth. What they're doing is so beyond the pale that you really are left to conclude that they're insane. The people at the top of the pyramid that are allowing all this to happen are clinically insane. So of course we're going to see these policies roll out globally.
Yeah, you summed it up very well there. That's it's either got to be Lucifer or a totally alien entity that is like David Icke talks about. Who knows? But look, I'm going to keep drawing pictures and try to either entertain, educate, or wake up people the best I can. As an activist, that's the most I can do. I encourage everybody to do that.
Well, let me ask you this before you go. Do you follow the UFO thing at all? Because I'm interested in this idea of a breakaway civilization and the secret space program, the TR-3B and other classified crafts that the breakaway civilization or the deep state has developed. I mean, we know $8.5 trillion went missing out the back door of the Pentagon. There's plenty of money for these projects. The head of Lockheed Skunk Works, Ben Rich, once said, anything you can imagine we already know how to do. We have the technology to take ET home. Where do you stand on the UFO thing? How many of these UFOs that people are seeing around the world do you think are of terrestrial origin?
I've been going to UFO conventions in the early 90s, and all the 90s I was, Bill Cooper talked about the secret government being a treaty with these gray aliens, and rather than, keep saying rather than in outer space so much. I mean, I realize that we have so many different alien groups visiting us, and I would suggest type in DUMB, deep underground military bases, where they have these huge cutters that they can go through miles of rock a day, and I think that's where you're looking at. All of this money is underground. Actually, they certainly have technology to fly out of here, but I think a lot of it's underground bases.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, and one of the things we can point to, which is hiding in the wide open, which speaks to exactly what you're talking about, is CERN. CERN is this enormous tunnel, this enormous circle that is 27, 28 miles, 30 miles around, and they started developing that in the 50s. And now they're doing all of these crazy experiments, right, to try to, I think, get into the next dimension or usher in entities from a different dimension. They would tell you it's all about finding the God particle, but if you really dig into the work of Anthony Patch and others, there's a very spiritual, I think, again, spiritual warfare aspect to what's going on in CERN. And given the fact that it's the most complex, expensive machine ever built by man, and it was largely developed in secret, it speaks to exactly what you're talking about with these deep underground military bases. We don't even know what's out there, but CERN is a great example of what these people are able to accomplish behind the scenes.
Sure. And look at how many children are disappearing every year. The deep underground military bases, God knows what's going on under there. But I got to illustrate some of that. But,
yeah.
Hey, I've got some reviews of the book here. Did I?
Well, let me ask you this before we do that. Have you done any illustrations of CERN? I may have missed them.
I have not.
Okay.
I have not. I'll put that on my list of things to do.
Okay.
When I go to illustrate things, I think, what can I do to most help people? What is needs the most attention? And at the last second, I do something silly. But I also do a lot of Middle East stuff. I should do more Native American stuff. And CERN, GMO. Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't call any of your illustrations silly. Some of them are more entertaining than others. Some of them are very, very serious, but they're all quite good. And as it relates to your book, which you guys can find at ddees.com, ddees.com. You've received very good feedback. I want to just read a couple of these. Here's one from Dale. Sir, I really love your work. I took the book home to Billings, Montana, and let the family look through it, whom are not awake. It is the ultimate way to wake people up. The Lord knows I have tried to tell them verbally. And David, as you know, a picture's worth 1,000 words. Here's another one. After seeing your interview with SGTreport, I decided to buy your book. Thanks so much for your bravery in breaking taboos, labeling the Zionist and Israel war criminals, the Federal Reserve, criminal-in-chief, and the corporate pawns. Signed by Adam. People love the book, David, and why don't you tell everybody one more time about your deal and how they can get it?
They are $23 and plus postage, but I'm running a special. It's if you get 5 books, I'll sign all of them. That's 5 books for $100. That's only in America because of the postage. It includes postage. There also are prices for Canada and Europe. You'll see it there. But if you go to ddees.com and click on the book, the menu just says the book, and then follow that down to the PayPal, or it has instructions for any other way you want to pay for it. But yeah, that would really help me out. I guess get the money flow to make up for this. I took a huge hit. I took a really bad hit with my email being attacked and all my funds being rerouted. I don't know who did that, but I changed emails and hopefully that doesn't happen again. But hey, you know what? I mentioned that also. We're all really vulnerable. It's in a digital age. We're on the net. You talk about stuff, and when we followed up on how they did this, it turns out that they took a stolen identity from somebody else in a bank and routed it to her bank account. She didn't even know what was happening, and then they just took the money out. So it's a dangerous time as far as passing money digitally, financially. So.
Yeah, it's a bummer, and we're sorry that happened to you. Guys, if you want 5 books for $100, boy, that makes an excellent gift for your friends, neighbors, and colleagues. Guys, birthday gifts, send them to your parents, send them to your relatives. 5 books for $100 is a good deal. David, we wish you only the best, and thanks so much for your time.
Sean, you are fantastic. I love your interviews, and I really, really like the way you talk to me and treat me with such respect. That's amazing. Thank you so much.
Oh, thanks, David. Back at you. And you know, I've been following your work since you used to post over at rents.com, and we really do appreciate your work and your voice and your art. And our guest has been David Dees. The website is ddees.com, ddees.com. So swing over there and show David some love. And guys, thank you for your support at SGTreport.com and thelibertymill.com. Real news 24/7. Thanks for listening.